Sometimes people slip away without a clue. No warnings, no goodbyes, just silence. These aren't stories of drifters or escapees, but ordinary lives cut short by the unknown. Hints disappear, time moves on, and families are left with endless questions. Each missing person carries a strange weight, an unfinished chapter no one can end. Welcome to a world where absence speaks louder than presence. What was meant to be a fun getaway quickly turned into a desperate search in the mountains of Tenerife. Jay Slater, a 19-year-old from the UK, had flown to the island to attend a music festival. Like many his age, it was a time for enjoying freedom, sun, and new experiences. But after one night out, things took a troubling turn. Jay left the festival with people he had just met and ended up spending the night in a remote area far from his hotel. The next morning, instead of waiting for transport or help, he decided to make the journey back on foot. That choice would set off a series of events no one could have predicted. His last phone call to a friend mentioned that he was lost, tired, and low on water. After that, silence. For days, the landscape was searched intensely. Drones, helicopters, and search teams swept through the steep cliffs and ravines of northern Tenerife. The terrain was difficult, hot, and vast. Friends and family flew in, hoping for any clue. Online forums lit up with theories, and footage from the festival was picked apart for any hint of what might have happened in those final hours. Weeks passed. Then, in late July, authorities confirmed that a body had been found in a deep ravine, difficult to reach and hidden from view. It was Jay. The announcement devastated those who had hoped for a miracle. The discovery raised even more questions. How did he end up so far from any trail? Why hadn't he turned back or sought help earlier? And who were the people he had gone with that night? Although no immediate evidence of foul play was announced, uncertainty continued to hang in the air. Some believed it was simply a case of disorientation in harsh conditions. Others weren't so sure. The place he was found wasn't easily accessible, even for experienced hikers. For those closest to Jay, answers may still feel out of reach. What began as a carefree adventure ended in heartbreak and mystery. His name will now always be linked to the unforgiving mountainside where his journey came to a tragic close. A quiet farming village in rural Ireland was jolted into uncertainty when 53-year-old Michael Gain vanished without a whisper. Known for his routine and soft-spoken nature, Michael lived a simple life, tending his fields and caring for his elderly mother. But one ordinary March evening in 2025, he left the farmhouse, walked down the lane, and was never seen again. The last confirmed sighting came from a blurry CCTV clip, Michael, alone, crossing a narrow country road near his property just before sunset. He wasn't carrying a phone. He didn't have a bag. His truck was still parked at home. There was no sign of a struggle, no indication of distress. Just a man calmly walking into nothingness. Searches launched immediately. Neighbors, rescue dogs, drones. Hundreds combed the nearby bogs, woodlands, and ditches. Authorities followed over 230 reported leads. Some claimed he was spotted miles away. Others believed he'd simply walked off to start a new life. But none of it added up. Michael had no known enemies, no debts, and no personal struggles that anyone could trace. His bank account remained untouched. His routine, frozen in time. Speculation spiraled. Some pointed to the shadowy backroads of Ireland's rural underbelly, whispering about land feuds or dark secrets buried deep in family histories. Others leaned toward something accidental. Perhaps he fell into a concealed shaft or sinkhole that swallowed all trace. But every theory hit a wall. No blood, no belongings, not a single credible clue. Months have passed, and the fields around Michael's home have grown quiet. His family clings to hope, but the silence speaks louder with each day. What begins as confusion grows into something darker, an ache that never resolves. In a world where data, cameras, and networks track our every step, Michael Gain simply disappeared, vanished in full view, leaving behind only questions. The most unsettling part? that a man so rooted in one place could be gone in an instant, with no sign of where, how, or why. On a quiet February morning in Ballarat, Australia, 51-year-old Samantha Murphy laced up her shoes and stepped out for a routine jog, something she'd done countless times before. It was a peaceful Sunday. She said goodbye to her family and left around 7 a.m. She never came back. When she failed to return, her family grew uneasy. Calls went unanswered. Hours passed. By afternoon, worry turned to fear. Police were notified, and a large-scale search was launched almost immediately. Her phone last pinged near the Mount Clear area, close to dense bushland, but after that, the signal vanished, just like her. Search crews combed through acres of rugged terrain, using dogs, drones, thermal imaging. Volunteers walked shoulder to shoulder, hoping for even a shred of evidence, shoes, clothing, anything. But Samantha had seemingly vanished into thin air. No blood, no signs of a struggle, not even footprints that led somewhere. What made the case even more troubling was how ordinary it all seemed. No known threats, no enemies, a well-liked local, mother of 3, with no reason to vanish. Theories emerged. Some whispered about a targeted abduction. Others feared an opportunistic predator. Police confirmed they were treating it as suspicious, but without a body or solid clue, speculation filled the silence. Weeks passed, then months. At one point, a man was arrested in connection with her case, but no body was ever located. Despite charges, without Samantha's remains, the full truth remained locked away. Her family held on, caught between hope and heartbreak, unable to grieve properly, unable to find peace. The trail that Sunday morning was familiar to her. She'd run it before. But something happened along that route, something no one saw, something no one heard. A woman disappeared in broad daylight in suburban Australia, and to this day, no one knows how or where. Samantha Murphy's case is a haunting chapter in the world of unexplained vanishings, a routine run turned into a permanent absence, a person known and loved by many, gone without a trace. And the most agonizing part? The not knowing. Some objects carry more than history. They bring a streak of disaster behind them. Pass through hands, homes, and even empires, they leave unrest in their wake. Legends whisper of cursed items that doom anyone who dares claim them. These aren't just relics. They're traps disguised as treasures. Under the glass of the Louvre Museum sits a gem that once shimmered on crowns and swords, yet left behind a trail of destruction wherever it went. The Regent Diamond isn't just a beautiful stone, it's a legacy carved in betrayal, blood, and downfall. It began in India, deep within the mines of Golconda. A slave discovered the massive jewel, desperate to escape his fate. He hid it within a wound in his leg, hoping it would buy his freedom. But he was caught, tortured, and died without ever tasting liberty. From that moment on, the stone seemed to bring darkness to every hand that held it. A British sea captain smuggled it out and sold it for a fortune. The buyer, Governor Thomas Pitt, faced political threats and family turmoil soon after. Though it was later renamed the Regent when sold to French royalty, no new name could cleanse the shadow it carried. Placed in the crown jewels of France, it found its way to Louis XV and later adorned the extravagant Queen, Marie Antoinette. Her love for opulence and diamonds was no secret, neither was her tragic end. As she stood before the guillotine, whispers in the crowd spoke of the cursed stone that had sealed her fate. Not long after, Napoleon Bonaparte had it mounted on the hilt of his sword. Victories followed, for a while. But the tides turned, and he was soon defeated, stripped of power, and exiled far from the empire he had built. Even in defeat, the jewel was said to glow faintly, almost mocking its owners. Time passed, but the misfortune linked to the diamond didn't fade. During World War II, it was hidden away to keep it out of enemy hands. Even locked in darkness, its presence was said to stir unrest among those guarding it. Today, it sits untouched behind thick glass in Paris. Tourists flock to see it, unaware of its twisted path through history. Some say they feel uneasy standing near it, a coldness that doesn't match the room's temperature. Once a symbol of power and wealth, the Regent is now a silent witness to centuries of chaos. And though it no longer sits on a monarch's brow or a warrior's blade, its curse, some believe, has never truly been lifted. In Hollywood's golden age, Rudolph Valentino was the ultimate icon. Charming, mysterious, and adored by millions. But behind his fame lay a secret many still whisper about. A ring believed to have carried a dark force that followed him beyond the grave. The piece was striking, set with a tiger's eye stone that shimmered with amber hues under the light. Valentino came across it in a small antique store. Something about it pulled him in, and despite being warned by the shopkeeper of its strange energy, he purchased it. From that moment on, his life began to twist in ways no one could have predicted. Soon after acquiring the ring, the actor's once unstoppable career began to flicker. His health, previously strong, declined rapidly. At just 31 years old, Valentino died unexpectedly of peritonitis. His fans were devastated, but some close to him pointed to the ring, saying he had been obsessed with it, even wearing it on his deathbed. What makes the tale darker is what happened next. The ring didn't vanish after his death. It changed hands multiple times, and nearly every person who wore it faced tragedy. One of Valentino's friends, who slipped it on as a keepsake, died in a mysterious accident. A later owner suffered a breakdown and was institutionalized. Even a thief who once stole it from a display reportedly died under bizarre circumstances weeks later. Hollywood insiders began to refer to it as the death ring. No matter where it went, misfortune seemed to follow. The pattern became so alarming that it was eventually locked away in a safe deposit box. Yet stories still circulated, of nightmares linked to those who touched it, of people becoming ill without explanation after being near it, and of shadows appearing in photographs taken around the object. Unlike other haunted relics, this ring wasn't from some ancient tomb or battlefield. It came from glamour, red carpets, and silver screens. That contrast only makes its tale more disturbing. A symbol of style turned into an omen. Today, its whereabouts are not publicly known. Some say it's buried in a vault, others believe it was destroyed. But those who've studied the legend agree on one thing. Valentino's ring was no ordinary accessory. It was a magnet for misfortune wrapped in gold. The fields of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, witnessed one of the bloodiest clashes in American history. In July 1863, over 50,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or went missing during just 3 days of combat. But long after the cannons fell silent, something else remained. An unseen force said to be tied to the very land itself, especially the stones. Many visitors walk the battlefield today, moved by its history. Some, tempted by curiosity or the desire to hold a piece of the past, pick up small rocks or remnants of old stone walls and take them home. But soon after, the strange begins. Reports tell of sudden misfortunes, injuries, illnesses, house fires, and terrifying dreams. Some say they hear phantom gunfire or voices whispering at night. A few even claim to have seen shadowy figures in Civil War uniforms appear and vanish without explanation. These aren't isolated tales. They're so frequent that the Gettysburg National Military Park regularly receives packages containing returned stones, often accompanied by letters begging forgiveness. In one note, a man wrote that shortly after taking a rock from Devil's Den, his family was plagued by financial collapse, multiple car crashes, and unexplainable noises in their home. He shipped the rock back with an apology, pleading for the haunting to stop. Park rangers have a name for these: cursed returns. They receive dozens every year. Some believe the spirits of fallen soldiers remain tied to the battlefield, unsettled by those who disturb their resting place. Others think it's the emotional energy of the site itself, soaked into the ground, absorbed by even the smallest stone, that doesn't like being moved. Whatever the cause, the message is clear. Don't take anything from Gettysburg that doesn't belong to you. Despite its peaceful appearance today, grassy fields, old fences, and silent monuments, Gettysburg carries weight, and the stones scattered across it are not just leftovers from the war. To some, they are the last anchors of those who died in agony, still watching, still waiting, and still angry when the land is disturbed. It might seem harmless, taking a simple rock as a memento, but for many, that single act has opened the door to something they never expected and desperately wish they could undo.